The whole thing about SEMA is it's meant to inspire.
Yeah.
How do you go from here and think about this thing you drive every day, which is on paper transportation?
Yeah.
But it's so much more to that than us.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lifestyle.
It's car culture.
Yeah, it's everything.
Yeah, it's everything. All right. Rutledge, thanks for being on our podcast called The Creative Drive.
This is so exciting.
It's Racer's latest and greatest. We're here at the SEMA Show 2024. Thanks for joining us.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Of course. It's great to have you on our show. You were on some of my previous GT Channel shows, but it's great to catch up with you. And I got to see you actually announce a couple of awesome cars this morning.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about what's going on with you here at SEMA this year.
Well, I think this is my 12th year, could be 13, it's hard to remember, being a part of Toyota and Toyota Racing. That's when I think I became an ambassador for them 2011, 2012, right around that window. So I've gotten over the years to build some fun stuff. I've been a part of a couple different competition builds with like some of the NASCAR drivers, but I had an idea this year that I wanted to try to do something different, something special. Richard Petty became our newest ambassador once Jimmy Johnson and the Legacy Motor Club moved over to Toyota. Suddenly the King was at all this cool stuff that we were doing. And I said, y'all, this year's the 75th anniversary of the Petty family in racing. His son Kyle is one of my best friends. So I said, wouldn't it be cool if we took a Supra and made it look like the 1970 Supra Bird? And I said, what if we call it the Supra Bird? And they're like, what? Cheesy marketing stuff. It's like, no, just hear me out. What if we make like a modern interpretation of what he would be driving if they were racing today, those cars? And they're like, all right, well, can you get us a rendering? I was like, well, I can't, but John Sabal can. John,
of course, John.
John is just so...
John can do anything.
He's so talented.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what it would be like to have that at your fingertips. And he just, he cranked it out to him. This is what I'm thinking about. I reached out to my buddy TJ Hunt and said, kid, can I get one of the Street Hunter kits? I think I've got this idea that'll make it work. John designed that kit. So then it's like a home run. I was like, okay, here's what we're thinking. Let's paint the whole car Petty blue. I want it hand painted 43 on the doors and on the roof. But I want it to have my name on there.
That's the one thing that... What did he say about that?
The King said today on the microphone, I was like, oh, do you want to drive it sometime? He basically was like, I'm not driving anything with your name on it. I was like, okay, fair enough. But so we started digging in and, the project started at Koruworks in Atlanta. My friends have that shop. And then we took it to the Kenwood Rod Shop, which is who builds all my other kind of crazy stuff. And Randy and his guys there, Matt and some of the other guys, they spent so much time. I don't know if a Street Hunter kit has ever been body worked the way this thing was. It is so impressive.
Yeah.
And they, sand everything down, painting the whole thing with Sherwin-Williams. And the way that it came together, first time I saw it out of the booth, I was like, man, that blue looks awesome on there.
It's a striking car.
It really is. We see it under the lights. And then we got Chasten Brand to come hand paint the letters. My buddy E from Limitless Auto Salon did all of the graphics on there. But, I've been a Continental tire guy for years. So I was like, well, I want to use Continentals, but I want it to have that kind of feel of the stencil that Goodyear used back in the day. I was like, I called the Treadwear guys and I thought about doing the rubber letters, but that's too new in a way.
Yeah.
So they said, well, we've got stencils. So it's rubber. It's still the same like rubber. So we did that. Tito Ruiz and the guys at HRE crush it because I wanted a set of wheels that looked like what the King was running in 70. And they were this bright, almost royal blue to contrast the car. And man, they made such a beautiful set of wheels for that thing. I already had a MagnaFlow catback on there, the X Mod setup, and I had Odyssey battery in it already. So, all my partners on that side, it worked great. But the wild thing was that along the way, somehow, Brian Benedict, over at Hot Wheels, I kept sharing stuff with him, and he was like, this would be a great Hot Wheels to make.
Yeah.
So we got to announce this morning that it's also becoming a Hot Wheels.
I heard that too.
And as a car guy, there is there's not much higher. I mean, it's the Mount Everest for us of what if I have my own Hot Wheels one day? And man, it's the most, I don't think I'll cry saying this, but like it's the most humbling thing that's happened in my career is thinking about that's the reason that I'm here today is that I was a kid that had Hot Wheels and played and dreamed and imagined. And now I'm sitting here with you telling you that I have my own. Like that's the most insane thing of all. That's outside crazy. Of all the other stuff I've got to do for work. Like that's somehow that being a byproduct.
Is this the
insane.
first car that you've built that's ever been made into a Hot Wheels?
Correct.
Yeah, that's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah,
it's the craziest thing ever. It's so excited. Like the fact that it's going to be in Walmart and any kid
it immortalizes it, right? Like it's like it. Yeah, is that the right way to use it? Right? Yeah,
this really happened.
Yeah, and every kid in the U.S. or every kid around the world is going to be able to pick it up and have a copy of your car.
And it's wild because, you know, Toyota was so willing, because let's be honest, on paper, the car's a little bit sacrilegious. Like old NASCAR cats, I knew would hate it. But young kids that know, you know, young people that know him from the movie Cars who didn't have that frame of reference, they're going to be like, oh, cool, looks like the car from Cars.
Yeah.
So somehow together, the reception has been
It's a mashup, but it's awesome, though.
Yes,
you know, that's what it's all about these days, right? It's you get different brands from different, you know, disciplines, like just doing these crazy collabs, and they're cool, you know, and if it's cool, it works.
It works. Yeah. And it did, I will say, it had matching. We painted the whole car, but we used vinyl on the headlights because I wanted them to be body color and put a 43 on there. The legal department did not let me keep those on, and so we had to peel those off right when I got here, unfortunately. But
you're still working with Toyota.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it all works. The die cast will look like that because I thought that was one of the coolest parts of like the you know the nose of that Suprabird just had that, you know, it's such an iconic thing. But the King ended up signing the roof today.
Oh, really? Okay, I didn't see that part.
Let's get the keys. I'll just have you sign the inside. He just signs the roof. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I got to clear over that. So it was just such a special thing. And we surprised him. Like at no point did he know that's why he was coming out here.
So until this morning, he'd never seen that car?
Correct.
Wow.
Like when we unveiled it.
He like casually like kind of walked, you know, he had his hands in his pocket, just kind of walked up and people were taking pictures with him.
No big deal. Like
he's just kind of like just walked into
he's
the frame.
Salt of the earth, but I've worked with Kyle for probably 6 months on this whole thing to I want to make sure that we got approval. Everybody's happy with it. Yes, this will be great. Don't tell him. Yeah. So even yesterday when the media tour, they got to come through, they saw it, but I had to like tell everyone, please don't tell the King if you should see him. And then we had dinner last night with the Toyota folks. And, you know, it's just such a cool thing. And big props to Paul Doschel and to Brent Marrero, to Steve Applebaum, everybody that was like, yeah, this sounds cool. I know it's weird and it's different, but let's do it, and got the King there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Where is that car going now? Do you know like what happens to these SEMA cars? Like once
Great question. So this is actually my car. Like this was my
it's a personal
Supra
car
that I was daily driving. So I hope it comes back. Like it's tagged and insured.
You're going to take your kids to school in there?
Absolutely. That one will be awesome. I think kids will love seeing that one. The downside is I'm going to have to kick something out of the garage. And I haven't figured out what. There's either I got a CTSV wagon, 2013, that I bought after Top Gear. That's in there. My Mark IV Supra's in the garage. And then my 72 K5 Blazer is in there. And my club car, golf cart. I'd squeeze those two together.
What happened to your GTR? You had a GTR?
I did. I had a R33 GTR that I got from our friend Sean Morris at Top Rank. Loved it. Sold it because Sean had told me years ago about the wagon, the Stagia 260 RS.
Right. Okay. So you got
and I was like, well, wagon clearly now. I've got it. And I had to wait. Those didn't come out till 98. Right. So I got one of those, converted it to an R34 front end. I just wrapped it. And now I'm like, what am I doing? I don't have room for this either.
I saw that on your Instagram recently.
Yeah,
you just posted
by the way, I wish one of my friends had told me that if I posted that on Marketplace, it would be a terrible idea. The responses, some of them are funny. You forget
you
the
don't
internet.
Read the comments, right?
No,
you don't,
the internet's undefeated.
Yeah.
One dude was just like, bro, it's an ugly ass car. And you're like, I appreciate you took the time to write that, I guess. I don't know.
They will take the time to
One dude's
write.
like, I've got an EF Civic SI hatch straight up trade. And I just replied with like a smiley face. Then I realized he wasn't kidding. Then he sent a whole bunch of pictures. I was like, it looks great, man. It's not for me.
Yeah.
Thank you. The trades, because I did say like, I have this list of cars in my mind. You probably do too. Of like, I just want to own lots of different things. So like, I still want to have an E63 AMG wagon.
Yeah.
An R35 would be fun for a little while. Well, let's see what else. I think a G wagon would be fun.
Yeah.
Not for long term. I just think they'd
be
hilarious.
cool. Yeah.
And I just would listen to Post Malone constantly. I think G wagon. So I put up, interesting trades, whatever. And I listed a couple of, and let's be honest, I built a rad 911 that was an RWB. I always wanted to do that car with a 2JZ in the back, but no one had ever made a mount kit, and I didn't want to spend 8 months waiting for that. So I put LS in the back. Yeah. And that was the first time I really made car people mad. So I think I was less worried about the Supra.
You're not the first person to put an LS in the Porsche.
For sure.
Yeah.
But the Porsche purists don't like RWBs.
Yeah, they don't like RWBs, to begin with anyway. Yeah.
And they miss the artistry and the fact that, Nakai-san can make this bespoke one-of-one car that's just for you. It's incredible. I think if I had to do it over again, and now that he's doing 997s, the 997s to me, they look great, but they don't look as gritty
they don't.
as the air-cooleds, and I think I really like that.
Yeah, me too. I like the older ones that he was doing,
So I feel like I want to do, if I ever do another one, I think I want to do another air-cooled, maybe convert it with something else in the back. It'd be cool if I have a 2JZ in the back. But I think I just want something that is just that absolute crap kicker. And mine was so nice, and I had so much money in there, way more than I thought. I thought I could do it on a budget.
Yeah.
I was really wrong.
Right.
Because everything for a 911 is 5 times the cost.
Yeah.
And these people will pay it. But, I think if I ever do another one, it's going to be gritty and just like a canyon carver. The one that Mark Arsenal just built, the black convertible, that to me is perfect. It's just all blacked out. It doesn't look anything crazy. Just roll.
Yeah, and he's like, this is for my daughter or something like that, right?
Yeah. Mark is like my, he's on my like Mount Rushmore of car approval.
Yeah.
I'm just always looking for Mark to tell me he likes it.
Yeah, you want that stamp of approval from that guy. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, you have another car in the Toyota.
Oh, I do. I forgot.
Tell us about the other one.
So the other one is a 5-year project that started, I got a 94 Toyota pickup from a couple in my town that owns a antique business. And I'd always said, like, when are you gonna let me buy it? And it was just this beat up old white truck. So one day they finally said, okay, you can come get it. So I went over there and I paid too much for it, I'm sure. And then I did like a Beltec lowering kit. I put a nice stereo in there. I think I had a Momo steering wheel on it. I found a set of, oh gosh, what was that? Starion wheels.
The Mitsubishi Starion?
Yes, because they had a staggered offset. And
Jackie Chan.
They would bolt up to that thing, right? I had them powder coated. My buddy Sohail fixed those up for me. Put it all together. It's great. I go to charge the AC, and the shop was like, "Man, this thing's running kind of funny. We should maybe just check it out." I was like, "Okay, yeah." Turns out the head gasket was blown, and now I've just spent all this money on like getting it looking great. I converted to a 4Runner front end. I bought half a 4Runner on Facebook Marketplace. So then I'm like, what do I do with this beat up truck? So I took it to my friend's shop called Koruworks in Atlanta, and Tyler Clayton had started that. And so we started talking with Tyler. What can we do? Well, we said, let's swap it with something a little more fun. Why rebuild the 22RE? Let's do something crazy. So started looking. 2Js at the time, which I realize now were a deal. They were still like $5,000 and $6,000. I was like, that's too much. The truck was $2,500. So I was like, how about a 1J? So we found a 1JZ twin turbo JDM setup that had a R154 trans, and I think I feel like it was like $2,500 for everything. I was like, this will be great.
How much did the 1JZ cost?
Yeah, but I think it was $2,500 for everything.
Okay.
I think.
All right.
We got a real good deal on that one. It's non-VVTi. And I do love the sound they make, for the record. They are incredible. Yeah. Great motor. But we end up putting that in, and then we started like, well, it's going to have a live axle. What can we do? So we end up back halving it. Koruworks made a custom tube frame set up in the back there. It uses a S14 rear subframe. It's got their dual caliper
not
drift brake setup.
At all.
No. Oh, and by the way, if I wanted air conditioning, we had to move everything. So the radiator, it's like a total drift setup in the back. Radiators in the back underneath the custom bed. And because the bed was so beat up, I started thinking like, well, maybe I could just do something cool and I could put wider wheels on the back.
Yeah.
So I think those are, gosh, I can't remember the name. It's like a off-road truck brand.
Yeah.
Fiberworks.
Mm-hmm.
I have Fiberworks rear bedsides and they look great.
Yeah.
But the fronts, you kept looking, it looked like a big booty Judy. Like she was just too wide and the front was too skinny, even though I was using those 4x4 4Runner fronts. And so then I was like, oh, I'll get some flares. So I ordered some flares. Just didn't.
So this took
right.
about, what, 4 years to actually.
The whole thing takes 4 years.
It sounds like it took 4 years.
I had McNeil racing fenders up front, so totally different style. And then I was like, well, I have to have the perfect wheels for them. So I started digging. I look all over the place. And I've got some great track wheels that are Koenigs that are going to be incredible, but I just needed something that had a little more punch because I knew that there was a shot I could be at SEMA. So my buddy Michael Elsey had these JDM work equips that are like 18 by 9.5 up front, 18 by 10.5 in the rear. He had them ready to go. And he and I have worked on a bunch of stuff together. So I end up getting these wheels. It's the most expensive used wheels I've ever bought in my life, you know, but had them redone and just cleaned up and they look gorgeous on there. But it was my friends at Sherwin-Williams that really saved the day. We had talked about couple different shades.
That paint job is really nice.
It is. I would describe it as a rainbow sparkle magenta. And it really pops under the lights.
It does.
It looks so good. But before that, my friend Sebastian, who's one of the techs at Koruworks, we did these tubs in there to get a little more, room for the tires and wheels on the angle kit. And then he did this low rider paint job on the wheel. And I thought it was going to be here with the hood closed. Yeah. That's probably my favorite part of the car. They look so good. So it's this interesting mash.
It's got a lowrider vibe to it for sure.
It's like lowrider meets mini truck fan meets JDM drift fan. Like it's kind of all of these things together.
Yeah. I can see you like rolling up to like a car meet and,
Absolutely.
in LA, downtown LA and that thing.
They're not, I don't know if any one group will really be sure what they're looking at.
Yeah. It'll be like, what
is happening here?
What is going on here?
Yeah. And so, for me, we lost Tyler to Clayton. We lost Tyler to cancer a year and a half ago. And Koruworks has still been pushing forward with Lauren, his wife, and her support. So we try to do a lot of things to really make sure that we're taking the fundamentals of what he loved. And, his vision of stuff was always so good. So sharing so much of this with him along the way, and that's why I've got the tag on the front, which is Revel. That was his design and his name. And Team Rowdy, everybody in Atlanta, Tyler had such an impact on drifting and kind of car culture in Atlanta. All of his builds were always the cleanest. He had the most obscure JDM parts that even for JDM partners would be like, whoa, what is that? Where did you find? He just was that guy. So it was really special to unveil that today and to see a bunch of my friends from Koruworks were here and got to see the truck. I can't believe that I have one car in the booth, let alone two. Yeah. And, it says a lot about Toyota that they have, because I was a Toyota guy when I was doing Top Gear, covered NASCAR, doing Floors Lava, everything that I've always done, they've always been there as this through point in my career. And so to see that kind of support for those two vehicles in a time when you look to see the way other manufacturers have pulled back so much. And a lot of it is the legality of OEMs and aftermarket. It's a bummer that it's becoming this weird kind of clash, but the whole thing about SEMA is it's meant to inspire. How do you go from here and think about this thing you drive every day, which is on paper transportation? But it's so much more to that than us. I mean, it's a lifestyle.
It's car culture.
It's everything.
It's everything. I
mean, that's how racers started, because one day someone was like, I think I could go faster than you.
Exactly.
And it just,
exactly.
Look at where it is now.
Yeah, that's how sort of like this podcast started too. It's like going faster.
Absolutely.
Going faster.
That's what I love about it, man.
And with the creative touch to see how fancy you can be doing it,
Absolutely.
Because you always want to go fast in style.
And I think for me, what I love is that I've built two very different vehicles.
Completely different. Yeah.
All with my friends. They tell a totally different story, but it's still at the end of the day, it's cars that I love to drive. I want to go fast. I want to stop quickly. I want to have fun with them, but I want to be comfortable too. I want you to look at that going like, oh, that's totally Rut's car. I get that.
Yeah. Well, the variety of cars in that booth is pretty spectacular. I mean, my favorite one, apart from your two that we just talked about right now, is the 4Runner with the surf
The
4Runner.
TRD surf concept.
TRD surf.
That thing's
is
incredible.
like my car. I'm like, I was telling my buddy Craig's like, that is mine.
Marty Schwerter and the Motorsports Garage, they're on the campus there in Plano. They did such a great job. Keep in mind, that was one of 3 2025 4Runners that was in the country yet, right? So they've used those for like the dealer meeting.
Right.
And it's how a lot of companies will start, trying to figure out how to build parts off of them and stuff like that. But to take one of 3 that we have and cut the top off like that. They used a last generation one to practice and figure out, okay, how could this work? And what would happen with the windows if we did X, Y, and Z? But man, they crushed it. That thing looks incredible.
I love the look of that thing. You know, the old school, 4Runners where that the back actually came off, it was inspired by that probably. But
absolutely. I mean, that's that same style roll bar they use as a first gen 4Runner. And someone, again, I'm a daily Facebook marketplacer, looking at first gens now and seeing how many styling things they did and they did it right. Like Marty made the point, the original top had something like 35 bolts to take it on and off. Yeah. And it's super heavy. And so they made a thing where there's basically 6 different like clamps that they set up, these perfect little ratchet straps for it. And it's not a ratchet strap, but it's like a little clasp. And man, they did the neoprene seat covers and waterproof flooring, just all these different things. And you sit there and go, oh my gosh, if they made that, it'd crush the Broncos numbers or anything else. Yeah. Because when you look at it, like Jeeps are fun, but they are still crappy. And I don't know why they can't make them less crappy, but that's not our problem. The Broncos looked cool, and now that they're out, you're kind of like, oh, okay. Yeah. Well, there it is.
I'll take a 4Runner. I mean, I drive a 4Runner. I'll take a 4Runner any day.
But if they told you that, hey, you might be able to have this super functional thing that really connects with all these different parts of our lives, and it could be stylish in this right way, you would do it. I mean, did you see the Calty design? They brought the Rocks, which is the recreational outdoor experience. Yeah, that Land Cruiser.
Are you talking about that green one?
Yes.
Yeah, that is beautiful too.
Was bananas. Yeah. They redid 50% of the sheet metal, a little more than 50% of the sheet metal. They have these cutouts in the doors. It's wider. It has a midgate in there, like that old, like the Chevy Avalanche truck. Like you can lower it and flip it and make it a truck bed inside there.
Oh, right, okay.
And this is a group of incredibly bright people who are rethinking a design that they worked on a year ago. Yeah. Like, I don't know how.
Yeah, they just like kind of scrapped it. Said, let's just take it out.
Hey, give us your best. And then 365 days from now, figure out how to cut it up and make it cooler and different and better. Like clearly they're way smarter than I am, because I could not do something like that.
Yeah, no, that's pretty awesome. I mean, what other, we cannot forget the rally car though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to Gordon Ting and his dudes.
Eimer, Evasive, right?
Yep. And who else did I see yesterday? Kojima. He worked on there a little bit.
Did he work on the car too?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. I just saw him last week.
Always love talking to him. He said he got to work on it a little bit.
I sent you that picture. That's when I first met you, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Where the 3 of us are on, it's Kojima, me, and you.
How funny.
I think that was at Formula Drift like in 2013 or something like that. I think you raced that year.
Or that was what did they call that showcase at Long Beach?
The celebrity?
No, we were running the pro celebrity race, right. And I think that was the Friday night before y'all do like the drift
Motegi
invitational.
Super Drift.
Yes, the Super Drift. That's what it was.
That's where it was.
Yes. So fun. I always the best part is I would take a bunch of these celebrities over there who've never heard of drifting. And they're like, "What are you going to?" I was like, "You're gonna love it. They're gonna get sideways and there's tire smoke and just, man, what a fun time." But they, to look at how that car was built and engineered, and first off, I think this is a car we need to have. Like,
I think so too.
They really ought to.
People
take
in the
that
office
car.
At the racer office were talking about that car.
Absolutely.
Last week.
We
hadn't even seen it yet.
The WRC vibes that you get from it, that kind of wasn't it in Castrol?
Yeah, exactly.
Like that.
The Celica.
That paint scheme that they used.
Yeah.
But everything about the car is right. And have you spent any time in the GR Corolla?
Yeah.
It's a fantastic car.
Yeah.
It is It is so well done and so much fun. And every time I drive, I'm like, how are there only 3 cylinders? We're making this much power at 3 cylinders. I know that car in the GR86 body would be so much fun.
Yeah.
But like, sign me up. Give me that wing.
Right.
The light pod, a big hood scoop.
Yeah. Why aren't you like doing it the GR, the 86, like that one make series that SRO is running? Why aren't you doing that?
That would be really fun.
Yeah.
I was just at the race in Indy, so it was the last race of the season.
Is that the one where Keanu Reeves?
Yes. And I went there. I was there to help Keanu and Cody Jones from Dude Perfect.
From Dude Perfect, yeah.
And so I kind of came from the world of like, because I got to race the Pro Celebrity Race 5 years in a row.
Right.
I did the last year of the TC. Sign TC, which was 12. We moved to the FRS in 13, 14, 15, and then 16 was the last year.
Yeah.
I won in 13, so I got to come back to pro in 14.
Yeah.
15, somebody canceled or something. I got into the last one. And then 16 was like a race of champions. And that's the time of my life. Like, I've flown with the Thunderbirds, and that's the most insane thing I've ever done. Racing the Pro Celebrity Race is right up there with having Hot Wheels.
I bet.
Because the whole time you're like, we shouldn't be on this track. What are we? And for me, that was the racing that I knew as a kid. Like, I always saw that race, and I thought, these are people that I know from movies and TV, and they're racing cars I could see on the street. Like, that was the most accessible kind of racing in my mind of what I could do. But the fact that I did it was just insane. But so anyway, I've said, hey, I'd love to go do this. The cars are significantly more expensive than what we ran in the Pro Celebrity race, right? Andrew Gilliland, who's a big name at Toyota, he has one. He was there racing that weekend. Keanu did great. Cody spun out a couple times. Both those guys did so well.
Yeah, both did great.
But Keanu is what, 60?
Like 60, right? 61? Is he?
Yep.
Right?
I think you're right.
Right.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
He made that joke to me. He was like, well, I'm doing pretty good for,
He looks like he's 50.
I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
I'm like, that blew my mind. And he just kept digging, man. He's still so good behind the wheel.
He's such a motorcycle dude.
He really is.
Yeah.
And he's a great guy.
Yeah.
Like, I know he is soft-spoken and quiet when he's not, on camera in an acting role. But dude, he was great. That series is so competitive because the parity's there.
Exactly.
And watching these, I mean, there was a 13-year-old in that race who I think finished like 8th.
He's like one of the development drivers, right?
That kid's a bad member jammer.
Yeah. He's going to be big time.
To have that much speed and to understand it is crazy. So yeah, I've asked. I said that we should do like a celebrity version of that.
I think so. I think
they don't have to be built that. We don't need sequential.
Yeah.
Like, we can shift.
Right.
And I think Toyota would love to bring the Pro Celebrity Race back. It's just, once they moved to Texas, then it was like, well, where do we put this and how would this work?
All right.
So I still push for it. I think it'd be, look, I'll race a Camry.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah. I mean, I think you should. But that rally car is definitely, I want to see that thing on the race.
Absolutely. And I think they connected with, what's cool about that one to me is it also has that vibe of, it pulls from all of us that knew like the Celica GT4, any World Rally Championship fans, but also any kid that's played like a Gran Turismo or anything else where those cars were available. They see that and they're like, oh, I want to go rip it.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome.
Right. Yeah. We want to definitely race that car, rally car.
Please.
Go for it. Yeah. Gordon's the guy. I mean,
he's great.
So you are, you mentioned how long have you been doing NASCAR?
About 20 years.
20 years now? Okay. And how did the Top Gear, I don't think I ever asked you, like, how did so you were doing NASCAR all while you were doing Top Gear too, right?
Correct. Yeah. I was doing NASCAR first. I started in 2005 from a Craigslist ad that I was chasing. I knew I wanted to be on TV, and I thought I wanted to be on TV for cars. So I ended up chasing this Craigslist ad, and it turned out to be for the Speed Channel. So I started traveling for that in 2005. In 2006, I convinced them to let me do some stuff on air.
Okay.
So sometime during 2006, John Schneider from the Dukes of Hazzard came to Atlanta Motor Speedway, and we were shooting these fun pieces on the weekends. And so we borrowed someone's Dodge Charger, like General Lee.
Yeah.
We're riding around together. And the entire interview, I refused to call him John. I would only call him Bo Duke. And I spent the entire, the nature of our interview was questioning the nature of the relationship between him and Daisy Duke. And I'd be like, so Bo, about Daisy. And he'd be like, oh, Catherine Bach, the actress? I'm like, no, I'm talking about your cousin, Daisy Duke. She wasn't your first cousin, right? Like, no. Sean was like, you guys ever go out to dinner or see a movie? He just started laughing. He's like, no. So like, I just never checked up. Called him Bo the whole time. That airs on a weekend and then just disappears. Well, somewhere a race fan loaded that clip onto YouTube illegally. Okay. Because Speed Channel didn't really believe in the internet. What was going to happen? That's why they're gone. So this person loads onto YouTube, and this guy named John Hessling is sitting in the UK watching everybody who's been on TV he can find for cars in like the last 10 years. Right. And he sees this clip and he's like, well, this guy might be funny. We should call him. So one day I'm putting my daughter in the car and I get a call on the house phone. Keep in mind we had a house phone. And it's this person from a central booking agency. Okay. They want to talk to me about a TV show. And I, because I'm such a smart ass and prank called a lot of people before caller ID, especially in college. I was like, hey, you got to come up with a better name if you're going to prank call people. That's a terrible business name. And I hang up. I go to get my daughter in the car. They call right back and they're like, hey, let's try this again, but don't hang up on me. She says, my name is Celia Converse. I work at the central booking agency. I was hired to find you. I'm pretty sure I found you, but could we confirm that before you hang up? And I was like, I am so sorry. Please excuse me. My friends are idiots. Well, yes. Hi, it's me. She said, I don't see a manager or an agent listed. We'd like to talk to you about a show. And she wouldn't tell me, but she told me it was with the BBC. And I was like, yeah, I know. Look, The Office, Top Gear. I'd love to talk to whoever. So a few weeks later, I get on a phone call with John and then with another producer and so all of this stuff happens. And then I end up in LA, and they kept putting stuff around when I would be in LA for NASCAR out at Fontana, aka Fontucky. Yeah. And the whole time I was like, oh, I'm not going to get this clearly. So I'm just going to have as much fun as I can. And there's this big, like, I guess it's an audition. And there's all these dudes that I know from TV. Yeah. So Tanner is already there, right? Like Tanner pulls up. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my God, you guys know who that is? And all these dudes are like, fanboying out. No. And they're like, I was like, that's Tanner Foust. That's two-time drift champion. Tanner Foust, like Supercars Exposed. Like, who cares? Nothing. And crickets. And I was like, y'all are too man pretty, these guys. They were just. So Tanner and I become quick buddies. Yeah. And then just it kind of keeps rolling on. And I thought I wasn't going to get it. So I was, of course, like, well, this guy's cool. This guy will be a jerk, whatever. And then one day they called and said, hey, we had met with Adam. We'd done a bunch of stuff. They said, can we get your lawyer's information in case we want to make you an offer? And I was like, yeah. I don't have that on me right now. Let me call you back and get that. They're like, okay. So I pick up the phone. I call Kyle Petty. And I'm like, Kyle, did they mean like the lawyers on TV? Like, it's my money and I need it now? Yeah. We're talking like J.G. Wentworth? What are we talking? He's like, no. People have like entertainment lawyers. I was like, I've never heard of that. What is that? I need one now. He said, well, listen, tell them to call this guy. He'll take care of everything. I'll take care of it. So he calls his lawyer, this guy named Bill, and Bill negotiates my first contract. I'd never met him. Yeah. He'd never seen me, didn't know a thing about me. Negotiates my first contract, which for everyone is garbage. You just have to take it. Yeah, you just got to get the ball rolling. And so, yeah, that's how I ended up. Wow. Doing those shenanigans. That's awesome. And then you like fast forward a month ago, I officiated the marriage of Tanner and his wife, Alicia. So like, they were just on their honeymoon, right? Yeah. It's incredible. No, he's going to be in here tomorrow actually to talk about all this stuff. I'll get his I think technically I cried during the ceremony and he did not. It's funny when you write, there was way more pressure on me than there should have been because they didn't give me any ground rules. Like I asked, did they want to write their vows? Was it your first time to officiate? No, I've done one other. Okay. I've done one too. It's a lot of pressure. Do you know who I did? I did Dai Yoshihara's wedding. You did not. I did. That's amazing. I did. Oh, how cool is that, man? That's awesome. I was so nervous though. Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot of pressure. I just didn't want to mess up. You know, it was like 100%. Their day. It's like any old day for everybody else, but it's their day. And I could be the one to mess it up. That's how I felt. Yeah. That's how and then I'm like trying to say nice things about both of them. Then I said some really nice stuff about Tanner and I'm like, I am crying. I think I'm crying. Yeah. And just kept going. But anyway, yeah, it's been crazy, man. What a fun time. And we met with BBC this a few months ago to kind of talk about the possibilities of doing the show again.
Awesome.
And it'd be way cool. You need the right network for it, because you also need to have enough money, not for us, but to actually go places and do cool things. So we'll see. It's hard, man. TV's a mess right now. I hope they get it together.
What do you think about TV right now? Well, where's it going? Where's it going? I mean, there's YouTube, right? Well, there's social media, and then there's like network TV, and then you have the streamers, right? And you're a Netflix guy as well.
Absolutely.
Where is all this going?
I don't really know, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like what's happening. I definitely know all these different groups were getting bought up. The idea of like private equity.
Yeah.
And I'll say this with love. What we watched happen with Hoonigan
and Donut
and all these other things, that's the same stuff that's been happening. That's what happened with TV. So you had like a Discovery is buying all these smaller networks, and they make this big one, but there's no one to buy them. So then what do? Then they just start cutting stuff.
Right.
And you just leave this trail behind you. So, I mean, ultimately we need like, TV is a great thing. We need that to watch and enjoy and tell the stories of stuff. Right. If every story we get's on the phone and it's only 20 seconds long, man, already our attention spans are way shorter than they used to be. Yeah. But I think, and I'm a big fan of YouTube and what they're doing. My fear has always been, if they just change the decimal point, that it wipes out so many people and what they've been building. And that's my biggest fear and concern of it. Yeah. But they seem to have been consistent on how they have helped people. I laugh, if I had spent the time that I spent traveling the world for Top Gear and for the Olympics, so had I put that same effort into my YouTube channel, I might be in a completely different place. Yeah. And that's wild to me. Right. But on the other hand, like, I didn't ever focus on that because I had a real job in TV, and that's where I still, like, that's my bread and butter. Yeah. And it is that line, like, there are a lot of people on YouTube that are great at that, but they aren't necessarily employable outside of that. Mm-hmm. And that's tough. A ton of them have developed skill, but the same thing makes you endearing.
It's such a particular skill, though, right? And when you sort of go down that path as a YouTuber, you don't have the time to develop your skill as a TV presenter or a host, because
they are very different,
right? And a lot of people don't understand this either,
right?
Because just because you're a good YouTuber doesn't mean you'll be great on TV, and vice versa too. 100%. Just because you're great on TV doesn't mean that you're going to be great, talking into a camera every single day,
100%,
and building this like relationship with 2 million people at the same time.
100%, because it is in the similar way that, like, you look at waves and how a song and piano is written, you need to sort of flow. Yeah. And like, there's some stuff that I've done, I put on YouTube, and I'm just doing it for my friends that they always ask me about these updates, and it'll get good numbers and good feedback, and then I sit there and go like, well, that's cool, man. Like, I can't invest more time mentally into this. Yeah. Because I'm worried about keeping the lights on for all these other things that I do. Right. But then I watch the time and effort some of these people put into it, and it blows me away. I don't know how they're sleeping, because the editing and what they're doing is just,
well, they have teams too, right?
Absolutely.
They now have teams. It's a whole different business. But I don't know. Did I ever tell you I pit reported as well?
No.
So I wanted to get your take on this. Well, we're running out of time. I appreciate you making your time to be here, and we'll wrap up pretty soon. But so one of the folks that was producing the American Le Mans series saw me on GT Channel, and I had an audience on GT Channel, and I was hosting some shows on GT Channel, and as I said, it's very different to be talking about a particular car that I know a lot about, and I'm just like explaining to the camera, and you can retake and whatever, right? And so they hit me up, kind of like how they hit you up. Sure. And like, hey, we really like what you're doing on GT Channel. We need to cross over to this tuner crowd, because there's definitely an audience crossover.
Oh, yeah.
And why don't you come, pit report for us for our ESPN3 show, right? It's going to be online. You're not going to be like on, I think I was on TV actually a couple times, but they're like, do some pit reporting for us. And my first gig that they gave me was 12 hours of Sebring.
Oh, gosh.
And that is, if you guys don't know, that is the Super Bowl of sports car racing.
It's amazing.
Yeah. And it
feels like 12 hours.
They threw me in there, right? And it was just like, everybody on the crew is like, what is this guy doing here?
Right.
And I put on the mics for, the headphones for the
Oh,
first
yeah.
time. I've got like the producer talking to me on this year. I got the, the feed going in this year. And I don't even know how to use
the pack.
The pack.
The pack alone.
Tell them about the
and
pack.
it weighs about 30 pounds.
Yeah,
and I got no butt to hold anything up
there's
either.
like buttons and,
So you're wearing these soundproof like earpieces, these big mufflers, they call them, right?
Yeah.
And so the wildest part is you're trying to listen to that race broadcast on your program feed.
Yes.
But then you need to talk to your producer who is telling you, hey, by the way, Taro, so here's the next thing you're going to be doing. Here's what's going on. So when we throw to you, it's going to be coming from John or Chris or Susie or whoever.
Exactly.
You're like, okay. So then as you're talking and you're saying, oh, well, guys, I just saw them change the tire. There's a person that starts to talk in your ear and they're like, okay, now move left, show the tire. But you're still in the middle of a sentence.
Yes.
And then they're like, okay, wrap it up, throw to Charlie. No, throw to Pete.
Yeah.
And you have to make it all seem like everything's great. And I'm just like, it is such chaos.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that they actually trusted me to do this for the first time. They just threw me in there. And that whole story is like, I had my GT channel camera guy like documenting this, like my meltdown on the pit lane. It was just, it's so difficult. I mean, I don't even, so I have so much respect for like pit reporters because that's what's going on. Like on the camera, you just like listen to the announcer and hey, we're going to Rutledge Wood. And then, suddenly you start talking, but actually you're hearing like two different things going on. And then the camera guy is like, oh, we're going from a two shot, he's going like that, so you're like, moving
and
as
sometimes
you speak.
They'll point because they're like, hey, we're on B-roll or here, we're here. The thing that, for me, what I've always done is I move an earphone.
Yeah, okay.
Because the whole thing, our whole job is to listen.
Yes.
But we are set up to fail in that moment. Because if you've got both earphones on and you're listening, sometimes that, if you're interviewing Ryan Eversley, he just got off, he just won the pole.
Yeah.
And so, Ryan, hey, tell us about, that incredible battle there at the last two laps. The moment you move the mic, you are hearing either other people or they have a different sound playing. So then I can't hear his answer.
You can't.
So if he says...
And on a racetrack, you can't hear it.
No, it's so loud. But if he says, oh, but it was okay, but I actually broke my leg on the third, the third braking zone, I hit it so hard, I can tell I've broken my leg. Mm-hmm. And the amount of times you hear whoever it is, not just paper producer, but the person be like, well, that sounds great, Ryan. Thank you so much. And at home, you're always like, they just said they went to the hospital. Or they broke, like...
Because you can't hear.
No, because they can't hear. And listening isn't on the forefront of that stuff. So I always just move it off. I know how long I've got. If I'm going to go interview the King or if I'm going to interview Jack Roush, I know I need more space than if I interview Matt Kenseth or,
it's an art, man.
It is
Kyle
art. Busch. It is.
Yeah.
There's a lot to it. I don't think people
there's
get
so much,
how hard it is.
That's why I respect like you and like all the pros that do it. Like, I think that's one of the like hardest jobs in motorsports to do.
It's really hard. Yeah. Jamie Little is one of the best at it. She's so good. It is chaos and you're trying to juggle other people's stuff.
So my very first interview was like, okay, you're going to go to, pit number something. And this is, 12 hours of Sebring. So there are multiple drivers, right?
Right.
So I want you to interview this guy while his team is starting, right? So I get there and go to Taro. I thought I'd turn on my thing and I'm like, so, so-and-so, what do you think about, your co-driver going off and, he I think he like qualified third or something like that. And, or first in his class. And I'm asking the question. I can't hear myself.
Right.
I can't hear him. And they're telling me, Taro, you didn't turn on your mic. So like the audience is hearing nothing.
Yeah. They just see.
They're just hearing that. And when I realized, that I hadn't turned it off after all the cars left, it was already too late, and I had to start the whole thing over, and they cut away from me. So my first job was like,
listen, it happens so much.
Yeah, and I was like, I wanted to kill myself. I wanted to kill myself.
Well, this is going to be great. There's only 11 hours and 50 minutes left.
Yeah, they're like, no, it's okay. Exactly. There's like 12 more hours for you to get into another.
And the good news is when we do live stuff, we forget that not everyone sees everything.
Exactly.
So we do have to repeat a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And I just, I always my thing is always, let's talk about the people. Like, they can read. I believe the audience, if they're watching a show, can see the lap times. So I'm not going to ask how your car is, but I do want to know, like, how are you feeling? It seemed like the pictures from the team dinner, everyone got food poisoning. Are you okay?
Yeah.
And then listen to the answer.
Yeah. I tried to have as much fun as possible. There was like an opportunity of a lifetime.
Sure.
So it was like, I'm just going to try to make the best out of this. I'm obviously not going to be, Jamie Howe. So I'm going to try to, or any of my other, like Justin Bell. He was another one that would come in every once in a while and just kill it and nail it. I'm not going to be these guys. I'm just like coming in as like the creator guy from GD Channel and trying to like, do it. So, I just tried to have as much fun as possible, and I have just like so much respect for pit lane reporters. It's an art. It really is. Yeah, and just a lot of people just need to know that. Yeah, because it doesn't get talked about enough.
I agree.
All right. Well, thanks so much. What do you have? What's going on? What's going on? What's in the?
Hopefully, I'm going to get back to cover some more racing next year. I'm also working on another fun show that I can't tell you about yet. But
Can you tell where it's going to be?
I can't, because I don't know. It's all privately funded, and then it'll figure out where it goes from there. But I will just say it's very adventurous.
All right.
And it involves a garage. And it should be really fun.
All right. Oh, we have, for this podcast, I have one last question.
Oh, great.
What is your creative drive?
What's my creative drive? I think for me, I want to smile every single day. I want to make every day a little bit better than the one before it.
Yeah.
So for me, I mean, some days I'm going to drive a sparkly hot pink truck.
Drift truck.
Yeah, and then maybe the next day I drive a petty blue Supra. I just think, for me, that drive is to express who I am in what I do, but to do it with authenticity.
Yep.
Like I got a pink phone case. Purple's my favorite color.
Yep.
There's just no part of me that cares about anyone else's opinion on that.
Yep. Yeah.
And life is way easier when you're not worried about what other people are thinking about. So I think for me, it's just be myself. Just go have fun every single day. We're on a marble hurling through space.
We are.
Why are we not having a great time every day?
Exactly.
Thanks for having me, brother.
Thank you. Thank you for Rutledge Wood, the man with two last names.
That's right. That's right.
As our friend Sam Matani said once and messed it up, but thanks very much.
Had a great time. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
See you, brother.
Thanks for watching and listening to The Creative Drive, where we offer listeners a candid look into the minds of automotive creators and their journeys. The Creative Drive is available on all podcast platforms, and we have a bunch of awesome guests lined up for you guys, so please subscribe so you don't miss any episodes. If you're interested in partnering with us, or if you have any feedback, please email us at podcasts@racer.com. That's podcasts with an S @racer.com. The Creative Drive is produced by Racer Studios. Thanks to my producer, Molly Binks, creative director, George Tamayo, Brian Conzone, and it's edited by Andrew Snyder. I'm your host, Taro Koki. Thanks for watching again, and we'll see you soon.